First one, 19 and a half. There goes the otter right there. And my camera got wetted. Took a swim this morning, so it's not working very well, but it's been like an hour and a half since my last bite. I finally got number 2. It's right at 15 inches. It's a grind, but if I can get, 3 more like this one, I won't feel terrible about it. I'm just trying not to just completely bomb this one. Alright, next one, just like 5 minutes later, a little tiny one, but he's 12 and a quarter. They got to be 12 for this tournament, so 12 and a quarter on a wacky rig. Calm down. You can do this. Okay, we got number 4. Not much later than that last one. Maybe they're starting to bite a little bit, but he looks bigger than the last one, but he's only a quarter inch longer because he's just fatter. It's 12 and a half, but he's number 4. That's the important thing. 1 more bite, and I have my limit, and I can breathe a little easier. I don't know where my bigger fish went, but yeah, I got 5. That's the important thing. Another 12 on the craw tube again. My big fish bait. Man, these mosquitoes are horrible. But I guess, yeah. When you got a 12, a 12 and a quarter, and 12 and a half, you don't have to catch much to coal, right? So I got that going for me. We got a small improvement on the craw tube, 14 and a quarter. It's a pretty good improvement, really. I mean, calling out 12, so gives me a 2 and a quarter inch upgrade. Still not the quality I need, but it's a lot better than a 12, right? Again, look on the positive side. Now you know what time it is. About time for a snacky snack, I know that. Okay, got another upgrade. Another little bit better one. It's got a 15 and 3/4. I had to stretch him pretty good, but we got him 15 and 3/4. He got something pretty good in his belly. But another one on the craw tube. That one was one of those good bites. I flipped it up there and just immediately swimming off. Didn't have to do anything. Just nice and easy. That's the way we like them. Now, if we could just get another big one or 2 to do that, I'd really appreciate it. Okay, got another coal. That gets rid of the 12 and a half, so my small one's the 14 whatever. It's a 15 and a quarter. Not terrible. I think I'm real close to 80 inches if I'm not over, which after the last 2 days, 75 was kind of my realistic goal. 80 was shooting for the stars, so it's all just gravy from here, I guess. I screw up and get another good one, I'll really feel good. So it's like 9:30, so I've got a lot of time to try to get that good one. Hopefully nobody else shows up to this pit, so I can just keep working quietly, and these fish will hopefully keep, as the sun gets higher, I'm catching them off these laydowns. I'm hoping as the sun gets higher, more fish will keep pulling up to these little laydowns, and I can just keep plucking them off. And, numbers game, eventually one will be another good one. That's the best plan I've got. It's the best I've done. 2 days, and I found this last night. I mean, I fished this pit before, but I fished it last night for like an hour and a half and had 3 good bites. I had 2 good bites and 2 whole days of fishing before that, so I feel fairly good right now. So I still need more good bites, but I was afraid I was going to have like 60 inches at the end of the day, so if I even had a limit. Hey everyone, it's Clayton, Blue Bass 86. I'm going to do a little recap story time on Mind Wildlife, the KKA tournament, not Mind Wildlife. If you're seeing this, then you watched the video, what little footage that I have. Unfortunately, first thing in the morning, I got my kayak and my camera boom arm that I have mounted on my tackle box. It moves pretty freely, and when I shoved off, it flipped backwards and dumped my camera into the water. And I guess when it did that, it caused my camera to malfunction, and for the rest of the day, after about the first hour or so, it would only run for about 2 minutes at a time, and then it would just shut off. So what I ended up just doing was I would catch a fish, and then I would turn it on and just kind of recap it for you, because that was the best I could do. It was either that or nothing, and I didn't want to have nothing from the tournament. So I was just doing quick recaps, but so towards the end of the day there, I had 79 3/4 inches, 79.75. And like I said in the video, my goal for the day, because my pre-fishing sucked, there's no video from pre-fishing because it was so bad. I had like 4 clips and I deleted them all because I was just frustrated, and there was nothing worth showing unless you want to watch me catch 8-inch bass. So I had a goal of 75 inches. I thought that was a reasonable goal, and that would put me to where I didn't just completely suck this tournament. I wanted to do better, but I don't do very good at the pits typically, so it's just they don't fish like lakes. They're really hard to pattern a lot of the time, and they don't fish to my strengths for the most part. They're very deep, very clear. They're very weird bodies of water to fish. And if you don't know them very well, like I know them a little bit, but not real well, you just go and kind of fish and hope you run into them. And even if you go to a pit that has fish, like one thing that is like other lakes is they might not be biting that day. So even if you know where you're going, there's no guarantee that you'll catch those fish. So that was pretty tough. And the pit I was on had fished before. I knew there was fish there, and I'd actually pre-fished it for like 2 hours the night before and caught a couple of good ones. So that's why I ended up on there, because that was like the only decent thing that I had found all pre-fishing. But I had that 79 3/4 inches, and I had like an hour and a half left in the day. I couldn't see the scoreboard. I had no idea where I was at. But I really wanted to get 80 inches really, really bad, because that was like my original goal, was 80 inches. I felt like 80 inches, I would finish, up there, top 6, 7, something like that, to where I wouldn't give up a lot of points. And I kind of just had decided at that point, I had the thought several times throughout the day, you got so many bodies of water close by, and I move fairly often. I try not to, but I just can't help myself, I guess, that I'm going to just stick it out here. Well, it's like an hour and a half left in the day. An otter showed up. The same thing that happened to me last year on my pit that I was fishing, where I had a whole family of otters. This time it was just one. But last year, where the family of otters was just doing otter things, swimming around eating, this one was circling my kayak and like making all kinds of noises. It'd swim right up to me, like not growling. I don't know what kind of noise they make, but then it would swim through my brush piles and was jumping up on the logs I was fishing. I just knew I had no chance at that point. What little chance I had of catching a coal was gone when that thing showed up. It's a small pit. I turned my depth finder off after the first hour. I was just sneaking along, trying to be as quiet as I could. And I still hadn't had a bite from a fish that would help in hours. So with that otter showing up, I knew I had to move. So with an hour, just over an hour left, I threw all my stuff in my truck as quick as I could, threw my kayak on the trailer, and I had one other little pit that I have never fished. I've never even looked at it. I don't know why it had even stuck out to me. I was just looking at the map the night before, and I guess just because it was kind of remote but still accessible, I thought maybe, that one might have something. So I pulled up to it, and it was accessible a little bit. I had to back up to it real quick and push my kayak down a little kind of mud bank. And because I had less than an hour at this point, I threw a couple rods in the kayak. My seat, I didn't put my depth finder back on, and the tackle that was in it, the pedals, my paddle, and I took off. Didn't put the camera back on. And obviously net the board, stuff that you really have to have. So there's a big beaver dam straight across, which there's a big beaver dam on the one I was fishing that I'd caught a couple of good fish out of, and I caught several fish out of it immediately, but they're all little ones. But anybody that fishes the pits a lot knows if you get the pits that have the fish with the big heads and little bodies, those usually aren't the good pits. Those ones don't have a lot of bigger fish. They might have some, but not many. These fish were smaller, but they had small heads and bigger bodies. So they were too small to help, but I had a feeling this pit had fish that could help. Not that I had an option to move, but I had confidence, especially since I was catching fish. But I fished that beaver dam, and I caught like 6 real quick. So I knew there was quite a few fish probably in this pit if I could just bounce around and find cover. So I was fishing Kistler Helium, it's a 7.3 medium heavy. I got the Daiwa Tatula SV 8-to-1, 17-pound Seaor Tatsu, and that's a big bite baits crawl tube in the hematoma color. 5-aught EWG Gamakatsu hook and a 1/4 ounce bullet weight, tungsten weight, just going around pitching anything I could find. And when I got to the other end of the pit, it was a pretty small pit, which works out well when you have a lot of time. But I caught a couple more small ones, and I missed one that I felt like was a good one off of a little bit deeper tree. I think it was deeper. It took longer for my bait to sink, but I don't know, just the way it brought it out to me, and it was moving pretty slow but steady. I've caught enough big fish. It did things like a big fish does, but I didn't get anything on that hook set. Then when I got to that, there was another small beaver dam on the north end. I caught a small one, and then my next flip, I caught a 14.5. I netted it. I was so excited because I had a 14.25 that I needed to coal. That 14.5 gave me 80 inches. I was pumped. I was so excited to get that 14.5 because I hit 80 inches. My next flip in there, pick it up, and it just kind of stuck, like it was just stuck on a limb. And a lot of these fish were biting really light, even the big ones. And it just felt like it kind of slid across the limb or something. And when I set the hook, it didn't hardly move at all. And I thought the fish had buried me into the beaver dam. And then the fish came up and jumped, and I'm pretty calm most of the time. Anybody that knows me knows that. And I freaked out. And that fish was going nuts. She was on the top immediately jumping. And then she dove next to the boat, was pulling hard, ripped some drag, and jumped, and I caught her in the net. And anybody that was around, I know, heard me yell. But that fish ended up being the 21.25 that got me a big fish. First time that I've won big bass with KKA. I don't usually win big bass. I catch a lot of the 16 and 19 inch range fish, but For some reason, I just don't catch a lot of the real big ones that win big bass. But as it turned out, that big fish didn't move me anywhere in the standings. There was such a huge gap between fourth and second. That 80 to the 86.75 that I ended up in was third place. All of it was third place. So, yeah, I ended up in third place at the end of the day. And I was really happy with how I finished. Like I said, I usually don't do very good at the pits. So having a finish in the top three, winning a little bit of money out of the deal, and especially the big bass, I was really excited about that because, like I said, I don't ever win back big bass. It's an awesome plaque that I need to get hung up with along with the other ones. And yeah, giving myself a chance going into this last one at Melbourne. That was really great. The guys who got first and second had really great days. Cole always does well, and then Austin, man, that's an amazing day anywhere, let alone at the pits. 94 3/4 inches is crazy. Yeah. But I just wanted to do a recap since I didn't have any video of it. You know, kind of kicking myself because I didn't take the camera out because it was an awesome fish catch. But I was running hot trying to just get as much of the time, what time I had left, you know, use it to the best of my ability and best of my advantage, and it worked out for me. So it didn't do anything for me as far as how I placed for the day, but it did win me a little extra money, and it won me a really cool plaque. I had another pretty nice one from the first pit that was 19 and a half. I don't know if that would have been second big bass because Austin didn't enter big fish. So any of his big bass he caught wouldn't have gone towards the big bass of the day, but I don't think that probably would have been big bass for the day, but it was a really nice fish. But yeah, that was how the day ended up going down. It was kind of a roller coaster right there at the end, between feeling pretty down from not getting any fish. You know, I had that 79.75 at like 9:30 in the morning, thinking I got all day to get this last 1/4 inch coal, and then it just wasn't happening. I hooked one fish that would have coaled, and it jumped out from under a limb, over it, and wrapped around it and came off. And that was it. I didn't have anything else that would have coaled the whole rest of the day. But yeah, that was really sweet to do it right there at the end like that. I was happy with that 14 and a half, and then when that giant come flying up out of the water. That's why we do it. that was awesome. But yeah, the last tournament's the championship at Melbourne. It's been fishing really tough for me. I'm hoping that I'll be able to go a few times between now and then and figure something out. But if not, it's been a good year, and I've been happy with how I've done. Had some close misses. I've lost some fish that have cost me, but it's fishing. It's part of the deal. So, yeah, until next time, we'll see you then.